We're here at AIBC Europe, and with me is Mariusz Gąsiewski, Central and Eastern Europe Mobile Gaming and Apps Lead for
Hello.
Google.
Hello, really pleasure to be here.
Mariusz, great seeing you again.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great seeing you again. The first time we've spoke was in Manila for AIBC Asia, and now we're here in Europe, in Malta, and of
The
course,
opposite part of the world. Yeah.
I know. Now, I want to get your thoughts first about, this market, Europe. What can you tell us the biggest, opportunity that Europe had this year?
I think like the first one really big thing is that if you look at the Europe, you have a lot of really regulated markets here. Yeah, in the sports betting and casino, you have many countries that have very specific rules, which means that on one side create specific like obligations and rules for the companies that are joining that market, like you need to have the license to operate in those markets and so on. But on the other side, it creates, I think, often much safer environment for the users and for the companies to operate on those markets. Yeah, because again, even from the Google's perspective, for example, like a lot of those markets, once they were regulated, then Google could create specific policies that once you follow those policies, you can really use, for example, Google or like as the source of the traffic, or for example, you can create apps for the specific markets and use, for example, Google Play to add those apps there as well.
Right, and Mariusz, we are in Q4 now of 2024, last stretch. What can you say was the biggest, challenge that the gaming, market has faced here in this region?
I think one big thing is, of course, all the privacy topics, yeah, because I think in general, in 2024, I think if you look at the market, like almost all major markets, they have some GDPR or like similar privacy regulations and then obligations for the companies that are like operating the specific market. They deal with the users' data. They use some performance marketing, and of course, if you look at the Europe, usually those policies started much earlier. They are much more progressed and sometimes more strict than in many other regions in the world. Yeah, so that's I think I would see as probably the one big difference, which I think is influencing very heavily what you can do and what you cannot do in performance marketing, especially in such industries as iGaming.
Would you say that regulations here in Europe was able to address that issue or challenge about privacy?
I think the topic is kind of quite complex, but if you look at the users, like a lot of research around the topic, it was very visible that users are very worried about their data and how the data is used. Yeah, so a lot of those regulations were just outcome of what the users and citizens in the specific countries were asking for. Yeah, so I think that's something that came as the outcome of the people's worries. So I think in some way it's good that it was addressed, because at the end of the day you want to create an environment that is safe for the users. Where again they feel safe, and once they feel safe, they can engage more into gaming apps or like iGaming, whatever you name it. Yeah? So I think in this case iGaming is like kind of similar to many other industries, because again, if you look at the data, the topic of data exists not only in the iGaming, it exists in e-commerce and exists in tech. But of course, on the other side is that if we look at the sports betting casino, sometimes those worries of the users can be even deeper or like going farther than in typical non-iGaming industry. Yeah?
Now, I want to go specifically about Google, what you guys do there. How do you ensure that the mobile gaming and apps developed within, your ecosystem prioritize user experience, and what are some of the best practices you think that you guys have with your developers in terms of that?
So I think we can probably divide those topics into direct and indirect. Like the direct is really following specific regulations. So if there is specific regulation that created for the specific country, then that topic is only following that. Yes, let's see, like Netherlands, for example, when you have, let's see, the iGame is accessible for the users like 25 plus, then of course by following that regulation, then if you are searching being on Google, you need to be 25 plus to see ads or like the specific offers from that industry. Yeah, that's so in this case, following the regulations and then building policies that translate those regulations into, okay, what kind of Google solutions you can use, how you can use it, how the ads can like look like. So, for example, like in Spain, the video ads are not allowed. So then, of course, you can use that such ads in the at Google. Yeah. So that's like one big part that are really very direct, and again, they are related to all Google solutions: search, YouTube, Google Play. The other one is it's more indirect, which very often comes even from the way the Google solutions are built. For example, like important part of the Google Play are the users' reviews and users' ratings. Yeah, so like those ratings were created to make sure that developers that are creating the best apps or the best games, they can show it to the users, and with that they can get better recall and better like reach among those users. Yeah, so that's why, for example, like if you go to the Google Play, once the sports betting or casino apps are allowed in a specific country, then even looking, okay, that app, for example, has like the score 4.6, that means that users are really saying, okay, that is very high quality app. So finally, that developer has higher chance to really get really good recall among the users because he really pays attention to the quality. Versus on the other side, if you have developer who is not really paying a lot of attention to technology, like the app is breaking up, is going very slow, then always it will affect the rating very negatively. So if you look the app and you see, okay, the rating is like 3.0, then you can expect that, okay, it's probably not very high quality product. Yeah.
Right. And now Mariusz is someone who's really knowledgeable about the region. I want to ask you, what are the biggest markets right now in Europe for gaming?
For gaming or iGaming? Both. So of course, like if you look at the top markets on both sides, yeah, of course, UK is huge. So if you look on both sides, because it's like probably the biggest regulated market in iGaming in Europe. In gaming is really strong. It's like billions of dollars yearly. Then of course we have really big is Germany, which has some like is very big, for example, for genres like social casino, as like naming one. And then of course we have some other markets that are not maybe huge but still very significant, like Spain, very significant in the iGaming world. Netherlands is quite significant from those that are regulated, and of course from the gaming, France is really big, especially in the casual gaming, and then actually even the Central Eastern Europe markets are quite significant. Like Poland, for example, just recently open sports betting, for example, yeah, which is like, and you have some companies that are like valued for like hundreds of millions of zlotys, yeah. So even markets, I know some companies that being present just in one market like Romania can have some significant business. And of course, we cannot forget about Italy. And it's not like no accident that I recently heard that like the next Sigma Europe will be happening in Italy, and that exactly is coming from the fact that it's very significant market in general in the iGaming space as well. Yeah.
Right. Thank you for mentioning that. The Sigma Central Europe will happen in Milan, Italy next year. So do watch out for that. Now, Marius, I want to ask, since we're almost, coming into the new year, in 2025, what's your general outlook for the industry?
I was mentioning that a few times. I think what is happening now, iGaming is learning more and more from casual gaming, because, of course, because of the much smaller, regulatory space in the gaming, in many cases, gamings can just go faster. Yeah, so if you have the game in the casual gaming, if it works in 20 countries, you can open another 20 countries next week. Yeah, which is of course not the case for iGaming, when usually, especially in the regulated markets, you need to open market by market, secure the license for those markets. Yeah, but in this case, it means that a lot of topics related to LTV measurement or related to performance marketing, or how to do good creatives. In those aspects, gaming is, I would say, more advanced than iGaming. So, for example, to be very specific, most of the gaming players, they have the performance marketing based on ROAS data. Yeah, so I'm spending some money and I'm expecting 20% ROAS after 7 days. 50% return on ad spend on day 30, and so on. Yeah, so I have specific LTV curve, and then as long as my data is matching that, then I'm good. On the other side, if you look at iGaming, like sports betting, real money, because it's much more complex business and sometimes a little bit more traditional, because a lot of even big brands were coming from the traditional business. They have much more complex structure. They are a little bit older companies than gaming, and then they have more complex business model, because they are not only earning money, but they are doing some payouts to the users. In their case, ROAS measurement and return on spend is much more complex topic. So most of them, they're still doing the performance marketing based on what is my CPA and my cost of first deposit, or how much money I'm paying for registration. So in this case, it's much more simplified model, which of course works very well, but it differentiates much less between high-value users and low-value users. Yeah, so in this case, ROAS is much more sophisticated method, because you can really see very clearly in very short time. Maybe in that campaign I have smaller number of first deposits, but they have much higher value. Yeah, so probably the LTV curve of those users much better. So actually, finally, I can afford much higher cost of first deposit than in the past. Yeah, so those topics again are much more sophisticated on the gaming space. Last point, which I was mentioning, creatives. Yeah, so I think because of the regulations, because of the way how the iGaming works, a lot of iGaming ads are way less creative. I mean, very often if you compare 10 different ads, are almost the same. Yeah, so of course it's just following specific best practice in the industry, but making that much harder to differentiate. Okay, that's the brand A, B, C, D. Yeah, which I think it's much more common in the gaming space. And I think the last point, which I think is extremely important, is again coming from the traditional gaming, is that I think by definition, iGaming is a little bit more short-term driven, which means that you are focusing on those first deposits, those registrations, and you care a little bit less on this user's engagement. And I think gaming as the industry way earlier discovered, understood that the engagement is actually the first step. Yeah, once the user engage, then the money follows. Yeah, so that's why I think they started to create much earlier a lot of content that not necessarily is pushing the users very quickly to do the first deposit or registration, but making sure they understand the value of that content, understand, okay, how those slots or how those like casino content is different from the other people experience earlier, so they can really maybe sometimes pay later, but much more long term, much more. And I think that's just starting to happen in iGaming. And I think even if I look at the last Sigma conference, I see again more and more discussions, not only just how to create another 20 slots, but how to create something different, something that is more unique, something that is related to the specific niche, the specific audience. And I think once it happens, then that long-term perspective of iGaming would be much better.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, a challenge there from Mariusz. Creativity, really improving user engagement, and so much more. Mariusz Gąsiewski of Google, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.